What is the difference between dispensationalism and covenant theology? Trying to define the difference between dispensationalism and covenant theology in a concise way is kind of like trying to describe the differences between American baseball and European cricket. To the untrained eye, they might look similar in many ways, but the deeper you dig, the more significant the differences are. The most significant area of difference between dispensationalism and covenant theology is in the area of hermeneutics, which is simply the study of how we read the Bible. Dispensationalism holds to a rigorous presupposition that the meaning of Scripture is best derived from a literal, grammatical, and historical hermeneutic. In simple terms, dispensationalists believe that the Bible text means whatever the original author intended to convey to the original audience. Extra meaning cannot be added to the text. For the covenant theologian, many, though not all, will affirm the importance of authorial intent, but will then add that the divine author's meaning can supersede or surpass that of the human author. In other words, the text of Scripture can have a fuller meaning which the human author did not understand or know. This allows for covenant theologians to interpret texts of Scripture in ways that a dispensationalist never would because it goes beyond the human author's intention. A second significant difference is in regard to one's understanding of the idea of covenant. Covenant theologians operate under the assumption that there are three primary systematic covenants which govern our understanding of Scripture. These covenants include the covenant of redemption, which is an intertrinitarian covenant focused on redeeming humanity, the covenant of works, which is God's standard for salvation, and the covenant of grace, which is God's covenant to save his elect people. These covenants end up being the focal point in theological and exegetical discussions between covenant theologians. In contrast to this view, dispensationalists often call themselves biblical covenantalists because they don't recognize the systematic covenants of covenant theology. Instead, dispensationalists pay close attention to the details of biblical covenants like the Noahic covenant, the Abrahamic covenant, the Davidic covenant, and the New Covenant. It is from a thorough analysis of these biblically named covenants that dispensationalism derives its understanding of the future for Israel and what we can expect in a future eschatological time period. There are other differences between covenant theology and dispensationalism, but these two differences are primary, and they ultimately lead to many of the disagreements between the two systems of interpretation.